Let's go, let's rodeo. That's exactly what's on tap as we travel to the famed Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo. We get our trip started in Denver, where the Union Pacific's old 844 steam engine is huffing and puffing and ready to take a lucky few on our trip north. In Cheyenne, a warm welcome sets the tone for the day as we enjoy the traditional first day parade, and then we head for the chutes, where we're in the front row for one of the great spectacles of the American West. We've got a full head of steam, so let's get this week's show highballing to destination fun. Hello and welcome to our show for this week, and as you might be able to tell from my outfit, we're going to the rodeo, the Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo, but our adventure actually begins a state away. We're not driving to Cheyenne, we're going in the classic style of Union Pacific's steam train. Old engine 844, nearly 70 years old. The cars were traveling in from the 1950s, and you're all welcome aboard. So can I say it? All aboard! And when we say all aboard, we're also talking about the fact that all aboard are the lucky ones who managed to get a seat on this very exclusive adventure. That's because it's a rare chance to ride this Union Pacific steam train, and even rarer to take this trip from Denver to the Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo and back. It is without question one of the toughest tickets in town.
This year, for the first time, we had to go to a lottery for tickets because people would come on and they'd just come back every year, and it got to be like season football ticket holders. New people couldn't get on.
The Union Pacific Railroad likes to say that no other railroad in the country has retained its historical equipment and kept its past alive like it has. And walking through the cars, that would be tough to argue because you feel the past. You inhale the heyday of train travel. And pictures hung on the walls of each car show you that for at least a few hours anyway, the past is your present.
We've done it the last few years, and it's a really good opportunity to have 3 generations of us seeing the old steam trains of the past and coming to Frontier Days and just having a fun day.
Well, I thought that it was really fun, and it felt like it was back in the olden days.
The Denver Post Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo, as the train is officially known, first ran in 1908, in part to cement business relationships between the two towns. But by 1970, it had simply become too expensive to continue. But it came back in 1992 for the 100th anniversary of the Denver Post.
So I suggested, why don't we bring the train back for 1 year and open it to the public? They could buy tickets. We got so many responses from people by mail and phone calls, so we decided to do it again, and here we are 22 years later.
And of all the luxury cars on this train, would you believe the most popular car of all has no seats, just a bar and a band? Yep, the dance car packs them in as revelers rock and roll to the rhythm of the rails, waving and yelling away at all the people lined up along the way, all of them wishing they could be with us.
Part of it is riding a train, which I met 3 or 4 people here today who'd never been on a train in their lives. And it's fun to come to the rodeo. It's the best rodeo in the world.
But of all the 700 or so passengers lucky enough to be here, only one was even luckier to be invited to the front of the train, walking through the crowd of curious onlookers and allowed to ride for the last hour in the cab of old 844. What a maze of valves, pipes, flues, tubes, and knobs it takes to churn steam into one of the most fantastic machines you could ever hope to be riding. This engine weighs almost 1,000,000 pounds, yet it's capable of running up to 100 miles an hour. The 844 is a legendary ambassador for the Union Pacific, and from up here, the crowds along the route are a constant reminder of just how lucky I am to have this rare opportunity. One of the biggest crowds meets us in Cheyenne, and from here, the rest of the day is just beginning. No matter if you lease or buy your car, auto insurance is a must. If you lease your car, it's especially important because the auto dealer or the bank may require 3 different kinds of coverage. The first is collision coverage. That will cover the damage to the car from an accident with another automobile or an object. The second is comprehensive insurance. This covers car theft, fire, or collision with an animal on the road. Lastly, leasing companies may require you to get gap insurance. To some, this seems like an unnecessary expense, but if you total your car and have to pay the dealer money out of your pocket, you'll quickly realize why it's important. Since a basic policy only covers the value of the car at the time it was totaled, that amount may not reflect how much you actually owe on your lease. Gap insurance covers the amount left over. The rule of thumb is that if you lease or buy without putting a lot of money down up front, it may be in your best interest to get gap insurance so that you don't have to come up with the difference if your car is totaled before you have it paid off. For more information, ask your AAA insurance agent about gap insurance.
Now, as you can see, we've made it from the train to the rodeo arena. We've got our passes. We've been allowed right behind the chutes. So after this break, we're going to come back here and take you for one wild ride. Don't go away.
Let's go now to Rocky Johnson. Rocky is ready to be our first man to ride, but he's not going to get there.
Daddy, look, a beaver.
Oh, he's so cute.
Oh, no.
Until there's an impenetrable force field to protect your car from woodland creatures, there's the next best thing, insurance from AAA.
On your next trip to Coronado Island, you're invited to stay at the gorgeous Glorieta Bay Inn. Built as a private home, it combines old-world charm with modern amenities. Free Wi-Fi, close to the beach, and complimentary continental breakfast. Check us out at glorietabayinn.com. What a welcome it was to Cheyenne for our fellow passengers as we all emerged en masse from our train. And how do? There is nothing shy about Cheyenne, as we were given instant VIP treatment with a full band keeping us upbeat and on track to the day's first event, a good old-fashioned rodeo parade. It was along the main street where our hundreds joined up with thousands for one of the great traditions of Cheyenne's Frontier Days celebration.
Welcome to Frontier Days!
There are actually a couple of parades during the 10-day run of the rodeo, and it's all part of the build-up to the main event, a rodeo known simply as the Daddy.
Welcome to the Daddy of them all. There is the cannon shot, and we are officially underway. Here's the man that's drawn a bull called Gas Tank from the Wild Card Rodeo Company. Okay, slide and ride, and away we go. Shoot number 3 to the left, and another good man goes down.
A lot of good men go down on this day. Rodeo is one tough sport. And if I may paraphrase Buzz Rabin's song Cross Country Cowboy, rodeo is 8 seconds of fear on a jug-headed storm, a praying the big boss will keep you from harm. Yeah, when it comes to man versus beast, it sometimes seems unfair as the bull riders get slammed. The bronc riders get slammed. And even when a cowboy hangs on for the 8-second ride, it seems like the beast gets the last lick in with a smackdown. But when all goes well,
well, we're one of the longest standing rodeos in the world, second only to Prescott probably. And it's always been one of the biggest and baddest rodeos out there. This is our 117th annual. Some people in Cheyenne, as well as some folks in the Union Pacific down in Denver, decided why not have a festival up in Cheyenne, invite people to come in for a day, promote commerce and promote businesses up in Cheyenne. That was only one day back then. We now go a full 10 days. It's still one of our main goals is to bring people to Cheyenne to spend money and help support our local businesses.
Best view in the house. Chute number 1 doesn't get any better than this. Unless you're on a horse, but at a rodeo, that's not going to happen with me.
one of the things that makes the Daddy different is that it takes on all comers and even rookie riders and first-time bucking horses.
Both the horse is an unproven bucking horse, so they don't know exactly how that horse is going to buck. And most of the riders in that are rookie saddle bronc riders that have unproven themselves as well. So you're matching kind of an unproven horse with an unproven cowboy. Creates great excitement. The fans love it. Some horses buck, some don't. You never know.
It's like getting your tour card in the PGA, right?
Exactly.
The Cheyenne Frontier Days celebration seems to grow every year, and the carnival just outside the arena is fast becoming another popular attraction for all comers. But it's the rodeo itself that will always be the main attraction and the main connection to the Old West that lives on so proudly here in southeast Wyoming. We all know that babies and toddlers travel safest when they're in their car seats. But let's not forget about the older kids, even those who look like they've outgrown the need. The reality is they still need to be in a booster seat to make sure the seat belt holds them in properly.
Because an adult seatbelt is designed to fit an adult like you and I. It's not designed to fit a small child like Mia.
And we talk about life-saving devices, and there is no question by statistics that booster seats, car seats, etc. do save lives.
Absolutely. You know, car seat laws vary from state to state, but one thing that doesn't vary is the effectiveness. We know that car seats reduce a child's fatal injury risk by as much as 71% when they're involved in a crash.
But effective only if used right.
That's right, and we also know that 3 out of 4 seats are installed improperly. So it's imperative that parents and caregivers know that their seat's properly installed so that it can properly protect their child in the event that they are involved in a crash.
Should we bring Mia back out here and have her help us so we get it all right?
Absolutely.
It looks like Mia's really good about remembering her own booster seat.
That's right, you know, Mia actually can bring her own seat, put it in, get buckled, and we're on the way.
Take us through the steps.
Well, basically, a booster seat is designed to elevate a child so that an adult seatbelt can fit them properly. So as you can see, the adult seatbelt, when Mia just sits in the seat alone, is across Mia's face, so that could actually be really dangerous in a crash. And the lap belt's across her abdomen, and that can cause severe injuries if we're in a crash. But once she gets in the booster seat, you can see that the chest strap's going to go right across her chest, and the lap belt's going to go across the top part of her legs. And so those two things are going to make sure that Mia is safe in the event that we are in a crash.
Another advantage is it's easier for the kids to see out of the car with a booster seat.
That's right, and it's going to keep them the safest. So that's really the most important thing. And they should really be staying in a booster seat until an adult seatbelt can fit them properly.
What about the younger kids?
Well, for younger kids, you want to make sure that they're properly protected as well. So when a child is an infant to the age of 1, they definitely need to be in a rear-facing seat. Now, a lot of parents think they should turn their child around at the age of 1. However, that's not what we want them to do. We actually want to keep them rear-facing until they reach the maximum requirements that's labeled on the child safety seat. Once they outgrow those maximums, you can turn them around to be forward facing. Now, once they reach the maximums on that seat, they can then transition into a booster seat.
And if you have any questions, call AAA.
Now at this point, if you think I look pretty good dressed as a cowboy, you would be right. But I got some help. Before we left Denver, we went to the Rockmount Western Wear store where we got a fashion lesson for going to the rodeo. We'll show you that when we come back.
Zap Technology Arrival.
With Hertz Gold Plus rewards, you skip the counters, the lines, and the paperwork. Zap. It's our fastest and easiest way to get you into your car. It's just another way you'll be traveling at the speed of Hertz.
There's only one way to see Arizona, from the sky, earth, and water. Visit Kingman, Arizona, in the heart of historic Route 66, home to nearby Grand Canyon West. Experience the Skywalk, sitting 4,000 feet above the Colorado River, and the only one-day river rafting adventure. So make your next vacation trip to Kingman, Arizona. Get a bit of history on historic Route 66 and see the Grand Canyon from the sky, earth, and water.
When it comes to parading around in your best Western duds, there is a definite dress code during Frontier Days. Dressing the part is all part of the fun, even if you are like me, all hat and no cattle, as the real cowboys say. So before we ever left for Cheyenne, we stopped into the famed Rockmount Ranchwear store in Denver to try and fit in. This 3-generation-old landmark is just full of yoke, snaps, and the flair that makes Western wear so unique.
My grandfather, known as Papa Jack, started Rockmount in 1946, and he had the idea of making the first shirts with snaps. And that is our claim to fame. And the sawtooth pocket and diamond snap on my shirt is our signature design, which is the longest running shirt in America.
The Western look we're all so familiar with is classic, and just about the only fashion style that actually says Americana. Now, a lot of people, and myself included, just assume that the cowboy look is simply the look cowboys have always had. But Steve tells us, and I say this politely, that for a long time, cowboys had no style, and they had no look.
Well, you see, when my grandfather went into business, cowboys didn't have a look, a distinct look, except for maybe their hat, their boots. And so my grandfather felt cowboys and Westerners needed a distinct fashion that was their own identity. And so towards that end, he came up with the idea of slim-fitting shirts, yokes, flat pockets, special cuffs, all kinds of special treatments that identified the look as Western.
Rockmount shirts have been featured in such popular movies as Brokeback Mountain.
And these are not paid endorsements. These are where the directors have, Ang Lee in particular asked to use our shirts in his movie, and we're very lucky that we have a very signature look, and we have a following.
A following indeed that also includes celebrities like Eric Clapton and Paul McCartney. How many shirts does Paul McCartney have?
I've never been in his closet, but we've seen him wear 2 shirts of ours. One's a vintage satin shirt that was probably from the 70s, and then the other was a contemporary denim shirt.
Did he come in here and get it, or did he just find it?
We don't know where he got it, but one of the fun things of being at Rockmount is we never know who's going to walk in the door.
So you can see why this is the perfect place to go from the standard Dan to Cowboy Dan. I've already picked out a couple of shirts that I like, but just to make sure, Steve's wife, Wendy, has graciously accepted this assignment to make me look good. Can you?
Sure, we have some great shirts. Just follow me this way.
All right, we'll try them on. I don't know, Wendy, I can hardly turn away from the mirror. I bet you like what you see too, don't you?
I do. Looks great. You can really pull that one off.
Do I smell hops?
Funny you should say that. We
Really?
did these shirts for the Great American Beer Festival. Hops and grains.
I don't know, Wendy, I like this one too.
It's really great. This has a chenille treatment, and Rock Mount Ranchwear is one of the few companies that still does chenille embroidery.
And you know I'm a big fan of the Captain and Chenille. I love their music. What do you think?
That is a great shirt, but we don't carry it anymore. It is a collectible.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Somebody gave me this as a gift many years ago, and I didn't realize what I had until I got here. In fact, my wife has told me, get rid of that shirt. And I go, I can't do that. Am I rodeo ready?
You are.
All right.
You know, with the exception of the women and the barrel racing, when a crowd comes to a rodeo, it's all about the cowboys, not the cowgirls. Well, it didn't always go like that. In fact, in the early 1900s, cowgirls competed equally with the cowboys. And we have that great story when we come back.
Bojo's is proud to be serving Colorado only the finest. Come in and experience what everyone's talking about. Appetizers, fresh salads, delicious sandwiches, gluten-free pizza, and our legendary mountain pies. Bojo's Colorado-style pizza.
Zap Technology. Departure.
Hertz Gold Plus Rewards also offers e-return, our fastest way to return your car. Just note your mileage and zap, you're out of there. We'll email your receipt in a flash too. It's just another way you'll be traveling at the speed of Hertz.
MountHoodTerritory.com.
After a day of our favorite Colorado activities, there's only one way we Coloradans like to power back up. We recharge at our favorite local Bojo's. A great new happy hour menu, fresh salads, delicious sandwiches, and our Colorado legendary pies. How long has it been?
On to shoot number 2. Oh, how do you do?
Many people think rodeo is a man's sport.
Wow.
But history paints a much different picture. Women were very much a part of rodeo up until about the mid-1900s. And I'm not talking about rodeo queens and barrel racers. I'm talking about women going mano a mano against the best cowboys in the rough stock events like bareback and saddle bronc.
We had ropers, we had steer wrestlers, we had relay racers, and back in the day, competitive trick riding was a rodeo event. And these women that were riding in the early days of the rodeo, what we like to call the golden age of rodeo, are considered the first professional female athletes in America.
It was on the streets of Cheyenne, in the Cowgirls of the West Museum, that we learned about this little-known story and the legend that lives on.
I'm going to tell you, before I started here, I knew nothing, like most Americans, about these women. As I started getting into their biographies and their stories, I was fascinated. I really was.
Many of the girls grew up on farms and honed their skills on the range. Others had very unique backgrounds.
Now, if you look at Florence Hughes Randolph in that picture right there, she is a fine-looking woman. She was an actual fashion model, and she's riding broncs. And all these women are considered Hall of Famers. Tilly Baldwin was born in Norway, immigrated to Staten Island, New York, and was a hairdresser. But she ended up becoming a world champion trick rider.
But some of these women were a little too tough and a little too talented. When a woman came close to beating the overall pro rodeo champion, that's when their days were numbered.
Things began to change with a woman by the name of Bertha Blancett. And in 1904, she was the first woman to successfully ride a bronc here at Cheyenne Frontier Days. Her biggest claim to fame was in 1914 at the Pendleton Roundup. She came within 2 points of the top-rated cowboy of the day.
Since the organizers and the judges of the rodeo were all men, that didn't sit well. And when 2 women died in competition, that solidified the decision to divide the competition to separate the men from the women.
There was still enough of a Victorian attitude in this country where it was okay for a guy to get maimed or killed in the arena. But once it happened to a woman, the press just ate the sport up. So gradually, women began to disappear from the rough stock events.
It's no coincidence that this museum exists in Wyoming. Wyoming has long championed women's rights. In fact, it was the first state in the Union to allow women to vote, and that was by about 50 years. It almost cost them their statehood, but they held a firm stance.
As a group, they came up with a collective statement, and word for word, we will remain out of the Union for another 100 years rather than come into it without our woman. So our name, the Equality State, we really had to work for. And that's what makes us so proud of our heritage.
That's our show for this week, and I know I've said this many times before, but this has to be one of our best days ever. Think about it, riding in a steam train, riding in the steam engine, and then spending the afternoon at one of the country's great rodeos. Pretty happy about this day, and we're pretty tired too, so we're going to call it a day. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. For more on today's show, travel information, car repairs, or insurance, you can go to our website at AAA.com. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, because we like you too, and there's something new every day.
We're not just about the celebrities.
But on the celebrity file, where would you rank me walking in today?
Oh, Dan, you're at the top. I mean, this is a pinnacle moment for me, and I'm a little nervous.
Okay, we just got you in your first lie. Wow, Wendy, I can hardly take my eyes off the mirror, and I bet you like what you see too.
You can really pull that one off.
You didn't answer the question.